Brisbane Wakes Up with Stav, Abby and Matt on B105.
Online abuse, cyberbullying.
Trolls.
Cyberbullies.
She hired a private investigator to identify her online trolls.
This is going to be interesting to be able to follow because it happened over in the States where there was a gossip website really where people used to upload photos of different influencers, and they did them as well with very nasty comments. Ends up that someone paid a private investigator to track down who these people were, and they now know all their details. And ever since then, it's been revealed that there's no such thing as anonymous. Does that make sense? Like if you're the person that started up an account, fake account, and you're trolling people, they can find you, which I find really unbelievable because I would have imagined that you could do it from a different address and never get caught. But it's now come back to Australia because there is a Australian influencer, Indy Clinton, and she did a video being handed this 64-page document. And in it, she said that she's got all the details of the people that have been trolling her.
Wow.
Because she hired a PI.
Is there laws against trolling though? Like where does it become just interacting with social media and where does it become...
Great question, and you'll have to ask.
We've got Lauren on. Lauren is from Gallant Law. Lauren Cassimatis. Where is the line when it becomes illegal?
Hi, thanks for having me on. So look, really, if this behaviour is persistent, it actually is an offence, and it's a Commonwealth offence, which means anyone around Australia can be charged with it, doesn't matter where you're based, and it's usually called used carriage service to menace or harass. So what that means is if you're using a device like an iPad or the computer, for example, to troll and send nasty messages to someone, and you do it more than once, then you are up for that charge, and police are not afraid to file it these days. Like, it's a very common charge.
All right.
I think that's great because people just would say things. We were talking about this earlier on this morning. People would say things online that they would never say face to face. And I think especially having something like this to be able to show people that are new to social media, like younger kids, that you can't just make nasty comments and not have repercussions for it. Because it affects people. No matter if they're a big influencer, it still affects them. But then I guess the other point, Lauren, people are saying, well, if you put yourself out there and you want people to love you or buy a product that you're selling, you also need to take the opposite, which is criticism. So what is that line? Are you saying if you do it more than once, it's not criticism, it's trolling?
I think it comes down to the nature of the messaging and the intention behind it. So everyone's got a right to freedom of speech, and absolutely people can critique a product or a brand. But when it gets to a point where you're actually being nasty and you're inciting, I guess, hate towards influencers, and definitely I've acted for people that have experienced the actual threats as a result of the trolling. So threats to convict injury or even death sometimes. It gets so ugly that it is a crime. So it's all based on not just the amount of times you do it, but the nature and the content of the yeah.
So to say just someone is boring or I hate the videos that you make or whatever in the comments, if you do that, that's probably not going to go down the legal thing, but it's when you start to threaten people.
Yeah, and you start to incite other types of behaviour. So I've acted for a couple of influencers that then started getting followed to their home. So it actually went offline and into reality. So one influencer also ran a cafe, so some were turning up at the actual cafe and then taking photos of them and then putting it back up online. So it just gets obsessive and dangerous, and people are feeling threatened and unsafe in their own space.
Do you think people know that they have this avenue to get at these people? Do you think that most people would know that they are laws and they can use them?
No, they don't. And I think even some police aren't aware that it can be action. So some just see it as, oh, well, you'll be right. It's just, part of everyday life and part of being so, or having such a high profile. But absolutely, there are options. And as we saw with Indy Clinton, they can be traced. So you can detect now not only which account messages came from, but which device. So there are IP addresses that they can trace trolls back to. So even if they're using their kids' iPads to send messages, it can come up, or if it's a fake Facebook Messenger account, it can all be unravelled and detected.
I get surprised that there are people that have such a reaction to, I guess, influencers or people online, and I guess I can't answer the psychology of that. But what I am surprised about is that a lot of these people have said that they're other mums that are quite similar to them. Have you been surprised about the people, like the type of people that are trolling?
It is surprising, and I've been thinking about it, and I think, unfortunately, in Australia, there's so much tall poppy going around that people want to cut down those that are shining bright, which is very unfortunate. But I've represented a couple of clients that, yes, have been attacked by other mums. I had another client that put up a reel of herself, and mums screenshot a particular part of that reel where it looked like she was committing a crime in terms of her body language. I won't say too much, but they were mums that were screenshotting these reels and then, again, sharing them around and trying to denigrate this woman and just kill off her reputation. So I don't know what gets people to get so nasty. I think it's got a bit to do with jealousy and tall poppy. And as I said, it's okay to not share the same views, but to get as ugly as this. And it goes beyond even the charge I mentioned before. Like, this can be stalking as well. I mean, more and more police are inclined to charge you with stalking if you start to get really obsessive. We talk about mums doing this, but if they've got some sort of a business or professional relationship with the influencer as well, it can actually then turn into even a work-safe prosecution or human rights breaches in terms of a professional relationship. So it goes beyond your basic criminal law too. There's definitely a lot of ways you know committing offences.
You would use the, I guess, PIs to be able to track it down. Do they have like data matching technology, or is it?
Yeah, some PIs, depending on their qualifications, they're able to get warrants and then be able to get that information.
Right.
Definitely. Yep. Others might just do more of a, it's sort of like a jigsaw puzzle. So they might know that based on the trolls handle that they're in Queensland, for example, and then they will go and access the tower record. So, you know, your phone links to a certain tower in a certain area and they can ping. So then they'll be able to hone in on your exact location in Queensland based on that mobile tower. Then they have a look at any other handles or platforms that come up through Google and then trace back to your work, locate you that way. So yeah, it's sort of like stepping stones, but they can definitely find you eventually.
Well, it's a pretty clear message to those trolls out there. Lauren, you specialise in this area of law. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Stab Abby and Matt for breakfast. B105.